Hey everyone, Scooby-Doo here. Welcome to a brand new video. So today we're going to start our diorama display shelf to display our 1/6 scale, the Mandalorian, Mando here by Hot Toys. Also too, the same shelf is going to hold the life-size scale Baby Yoda, aka the child, from Sideshow. Now that one's still on pre-order, and I ordered it I think when it first was available. So I'm not sure why I haven't even got notification yet that I'm going to be receiving it, but hopefully soon. So we're going to go ahead and prep. We're going to be using our normal shelves. Now this one here has been used quite a bit. As you can see, I drilled all kind of holes. It was for something else, doesn't matter. But we're going to prep this, get it all started, and then we're going to add the Star Wars logo, and I got to repaint this. And then we gotta patch this up, and then we'll actually start on the build. So we got a nice Star Wars shelf like we normally have, black. Now the next thing we need to do is take care of that hole, and I'm gonna add some terrain. Now the terrain I'm gonna use is this packing foam. This is the same stuff I used for the X-Wing display that I have up on the Star Wars wall. The same one I'm gonna use for the Kessel Run for the Millennium Falcon. Again, it's stuff that was in like a packing bag, and then it's like a foam that kind of, I don't know what it does, but anyways, it came in something I bought, and it seems to work really well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hot glue it down onto the board or onto the shelf. And it'll actually be held in more with moldacine once we get to that. So I actually just put some hot glue down on here, and this is going to be a rock. There we go. And then what I'm going to do to fill up the rest of the holes, I can pick this up really quickly. I'm going to use some of this foam here. It's, I don't know, again, this is something in my packing. I just save a bunch of different stuff. I'm just going to cut out some pieces just to cover this up to give a flat surface for the moldacine to go on. So I'm going to cut that, and then I have a bunch of all these other pieces I'm going to arrange in certain ways on the shelving right here, and I'm going to glue those down, and then I'm going to spray paint them. And once I spray paint them, we'll come back and we'll look and see what we got going. Alright, so you can see our terrain now has all been glued down, and I actually did some spray painting on it. I got a big box of spray paints out in the garage. I just used a textured one. I have a bunch of different colors that I use. This one's kind of like a tannish color, and see how I glued that in. And how those are kind of looking like rocks now. Alright, so the next fun step is to go ahead and add the moldacine. Get the camera set up here. I've already mixed up the moldacine. There's no need of me showing you all of that stuff. Hopefully the camera holds. There we go. So the moldacine, again, it's just the same stuff I've been using for years. That comes out here. Alright. So I mix it up. You just mix it with water. You get it to like an oatmeal kind of consistency. I can tell you now that well, actually, you know, I got to add a little bit of water to it. I let it sit too long, and I want it to be, I want it to cover a little bit more surface space because this is a bigger shelf, and moldacine can get a little bit heavy. Hopefully this is enough. Is it on camera there? Also too, you notice there's these little green pieces of foam. One's gonna be, that's actually the kind of foam that the florists use to do flower arrangements. And the reason why I use that is, well, I have that, these pikes that are gonna need to go into the diorama. So these are a little bit more, they're not going to go here, but see, these are a little bit more pliable. Did that come out? Oh, See how those hold really well? So I'm going to be putting the moldacine on top of it, so that'll be an extra inker. And again, it's just this type of stuff here, and then I cut a couple extra ones. That was just for contouring. So I really have to get this down really quickly. You can see here. And then once I get all this in, I'm going to have to add a little bit more water. This stuff kind of dries kind of fast sometimes if I don't put enough water. Once I do that, I'm actually going to come back with some glue, and we're going to cover everything with glue. And I got to stop this filming now because this is going to dry, and I didn't quite time this correctly. But in any case, when we come back, this will all be leveled out, and then we'll start by applying the sand to the diorama. Sorry about that. With the moldacine, I think I let it set a little bit too long, but that's okay with the moldacine. If you add more water to it, it'll soften it up. So that's exactly what I did. And then I went ahead and molded it around the shelf. I added his footprints for where the Mandalorian's going to go, added the pikes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this set now for about, I don't know, 5-6 hours. I'm going to let it kind of get hard, and then we're going to do our next step, which is to add the glue, which is right here, and then we're going to spread that on and then add the sand to our diorama. Now that we have let the moldacine dry a little bit, and what I mean by dry, it won't actually dry for days, but it's dry enough for me to work on. We're going to now add the glue and the sand. If you're wondering why we just don't leave it like this because it looks like sand right now, is because when moldacine completely dries, which sometimes that might take weeks depending on how thick and how much you used, moldacine actually dries, we can see over here, it kind of dries white. So that's why we're not just going to leave this the way it is, because this looks like sand already. But again, it'll end up drying to more of a white kind of color. So what we're going to do is add the glue, and as I said many times before, this is like the Cinnabon. We're adding the frosting. I do heat up the glue a little bit. That way it pours out. See how it's pouring out? And although this is white, when it dries, it will end up being clear. And this is so we can sprinkle our sand on and it'll adhere to the moldacine. I used to use the spray adhesive, but that was like $7 a can, and to be honest with you, it holds the sand on, but then I don't know, it just doesn't work as well as this does. And once we spread this on, our white frosting as I call it, well, I heated this up really good. Now, when I heat it up, I put it in the microwave, but be very careful if you're going to do that, because you don't want to forget this in the microwave either. I only do it for like 15 seconds or so, just to kind of loosen it up so it's not as thick. Also too, this seems to, the glue ends up filling some of the cracks that you may get with the moldacine as well. And probably me getting cracks in the moldacine is probably, like I'll show you right here, is, where's it at? Right there, there's a crack, right in that spot. It's probably because I put it on too thin in a couple of areas. But that'll be something, if you use moldacine or if you want to try a technique like this, you'll just kind of learn how to use it. Alright. Now I'm going to continue the rest of this. There's no need of me filming this whole thing. I'm just going to show you really quickly. I have a bag. I bought a bag of sand like 4 years ago. It was a 5-pound bag, and I still have like 3 pounds of it left. This is just regular sand I got at Lowe's. It's used for like play yards. and sandboxes. I could probably use a different color sand, but I'd have to order it somewhere, and it's kind of more expensive if I wanted to get that Tatooine kind of a yellowish red type of sand. So that's why we're going to go ahead and paint this afterwards. We're going to use some spray paint. And let me get a little bit more glue in here. Now I'm going to finish this up, and when we come back, this will all be spray painted and ready for our figures to go on to the diorama. Oh no, what happened to the diorama? Actually, we already put the diorama up onto the wall, up onto our Fett hut Tatooine wall, and we're going to be taking a look at that in just a second. I wanted to talk about the second half of the diorama, which we'll be working on at a later date. This is a big piece of that same foam that I used on the diorama. And what I want to do is, once I get the sideshow life-size child, aka Baby Yoda, whichever one you like to call him, we're going to be making a custom base rock for him to stand on. And I would have done all this at one time, but again, sideshow, they haven't sent me my figure yet. I think I ordered it like 3 days after they announced the pre-order, so they must have had a lot of people pre-order in the first 2 days, because my estimated time of shipment isn't until January. I mean, anytime between now and January. So we will be coming back to the diorama and finishing it up, but again, I just wanted to show you this, because I also too, I want them kind of standing up a little bit higher for the overall look of the wall. And so hopefully we'll be able to use this to build a rock base for him to be standing on. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the wall. Again, it's not completed yet. We got some lighting to add, and there's a few other little teeny adjustments that I want to make to it, but then it'll almost be completed. Okay, so this is the overall look of the wall. It originally was the hut Fett wall. And then once they made the announcement of the Mandalorian, I made sure to have a little bit of room to cover that as long as the series was good, which it is. So now we'll take a closer look, excuse me, of the wall. I'm going to pick this up. If you haven't seen it before, now I'm still waiting on the Lando in Skiff Guard outfit, which is going to go on that shelf right to the right there. Now I've had this wall for a while. I did switch out. I used to have the katana up on top, and then I did the hut palace or throne room. And my centerpiece has always been Boba Fett escaping the Sarlacc pit. This is the only quarter scale that I have that's on display in this room. And I just held out for years, hoping that we'd get news via canon that Fett did escape the Sarlacc pit. And good news, I think he has. So now this makes the wall even cooler, because now it's canon, or somewhat canon anyways. And now we come in here to the Mandalorian section. Also too, I just want to note, because I have two different posters flanked here. This is the Solo movie. I know. I just added it just because I wanted to have posters of everything. And now we have the Mandalorian, which is right there. And now as we take a closer look at our diorama so far, we can, hopefully this, there we go. You can see Mando right there with Baby Yoda. Sorry if this, there we go. Yeah, the camera's a little bit tilted, but that's okay. You get the gist of it. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding the life-size Baby Yoda right here in this section over here. That's why this is left open, and we'll see how that goes. But again, we get a little bit closer look of the diorama that we built so far. And we're going to do the same kind of rocks like right there for the Baby Yoda. This Mando 1/6 scale figure is so awesome looking. And it's going to look great too with the Fett once we get him finished. And we're also going to be backlighting Fett as well. Along with the other life-size figures, they're all going to be backlit in here. And we have the Kylo Ren. He's out in my patio right now. I'm working on him. And we're actually going to be starting to work on the R2 really shortly, in December for sure. We're going to get him interactive and all set up. So we do have a lot of work to do, and that's another reason why I decided to go ahead and get this display up, because I just got a lot of stuff to do. And then we also have the pinball that I'm going to be working on as well. So I hope you guys liked this video on how I built my diorama so far. Tune back in for when we complete it and get this wall all done. And then we'll be moving on to the other life-size figures as well. Hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I shall talk to you real soon.